And welcome back to Subconscious Mind Mastery. Thomas Miller here on a new moon TGI Friday holiday weekend in 2019. We're going to talk about that new moon because it is loaded powerful. Let me just get the housekeeping stuff out of the way real quick. We're going to get to the meat of this fast. So if you are not in our Facebook group, join us because there is a map. There's a chart of today's energy there that you can see in Facebook. So if you're not in the group, just come join Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast listeners in Facebook. There are a couple of questions. We would love for you to leave a review. And thank you to those of you who have left a review on iTunes. Really greatly appreciate it. Apple is changing their whole structure of podcast groups and categories in just a couple of months. And your welcome 5-star great review is super appreciated right now. And if you don't have a 5-star review, if you have a 2-star review or a 3-star review, email me at thomas@subconsciousmastery. Let me know and let us get it fixed because we want to serve you in every way possible. All right, let's talk about, our Soulfest event coming up in November. So here's the bottom line on Soulfest. If you're interested in your life purpose, and a blueprint for your life purpose, and you would like to see that for yourself and your partner and your kids, email me at thomas@subconsciousmindmastery.com. I'd like to just hear from you. Yes, I'd love to have that. Or drop a post in Facebook. But just say, yes, I would love to know my soul purpose blueprint. Or if I don't hear from you, then we might need to rethink if there's an interest for that. I think it's one of the most critical things in the world, but we just haven't had response on it. So I'm just putting the flag out there. Let's see if that's something that's interesting. So just shoot me an email and say, heck yes. And we'll go from there. Because again, we've got to figure out where the interest is and then where that intersects commitment, then we can put something together. Okay. But let's talk about this chart because this is just so juicy. We had a full moon this morning at 5:38 Central Time, 6:38 Eastern Time. And probably the best synopsis of the eclipse itself would be if you went over to my FUNastrology podcast for today for August 30th and just listened to that. It's only about 5 minutes, kept it short. And that will give you the details of what the chart interpretation is. But what we have here is some really powerful transformational energy. Now, I've been doing these astrology readings, and boy, you guys are loving those. So that's also on funastrology.com, and I think there's a link also on subconsciousmindmastery.com. And everybody wants to know their soul purpose. That was certainly my interest in astrology. And everybody wants to know about this big conjunction that we have coming up on January 10th, 2020, when Saturn and Pluto will be sitting on top of each other in the sky in Capricorn. That has not happened since the year 1517. I went back and looked. The last time that Saturn and Pluto conjuncted, they were on top of each other, they were in perfect alignment, was in 1517 on December 25th. What happened in October of that year? That was when Martin Luther tacked his notes to the door of the church saying, we ain't doing this no more. And that began the Protestant Reformation. Was that transformative? Well, let's go back the year before that, or the time before that, not the year before that. My goodness, it was not until 1284 that it happened previous to that. Now, why is it that it's so far apart? 1284, 1517, 2020. So why are these so far apart? Well, the special juice to this is that we're dealing with the two most powerful elements of transformation in astrology, and that is Saturn and Pluto. Now, why this is significant is because right now, Saturn is what we call at home. It is in Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn. So every sign has a planetary ruler, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Pluto, because it was only discovered in 1930, was assigned my home sign of Scorpio. Don't you love it? that astrologer in Denver that said, your chart makes me dizzy. I love it. It's like, yeah, in more ways than one. But Pluto and Saturn are together in Capricorn now, and this conjunction will happen at 22 degrees Capricorn, because Pluto takes 248 years to go all the way around the astrological circle, i.e. the sun. Although it has been around the circle since 1517, it hasn't done it with Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn takes 28 to 29 years, 28 and a half years to go all the way around. So to get those two in alignment, that's just what it takes. Because Saturn is at home, that is some absolutely wickedly powerful transformational energy. When did the Dark Ages begin? Anybody know? Raise your hand. 1330. From 1284 to 1330. See, these are not necessarily the instant, like January 10th, when these two are sitting on top of each other, you're very likely to just get up and have breakfast, go to the gym, do whatever you do, go to work, read the newspaper, read your Facebook stuff, come home, pet the dog, go to bed, everything's fine. And you're like, what was the big deal? I've been saying this has been going on all year. So did you have a little bit of shakeup or roughness around the summer, June and July period, when the sun and Mars and moon and Venus, all these energies were right across from Saturn and Pluto? Did you have a rough last couple of weeks if you're catching this in real time? I mean, I've had a brutal couple of last weeks. And when I boil it all down and just get centered, it's all about working on stuff that I haven't resolved yet. It's about working out our karmic purpose. I've talked to others in the consultations that have just they feel like they're getting hammered right now. I mean, the universe is not going to let us off. It's just going to approach things in different ways. But you can bet that there are winds of change and transformation taking place that will play out over the years ahead. Now, just to put another exclamation mark on just how powerful this energy is, let me throw another date at you. Don't want you to get confused now. We're talking primarily the theme that I'm talking about, and the theme that's going on right now is Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. All right? Now, and I told you the last time that happened was 1517. But the last time that Pluto was in Capricorn, get these dates. This is just by itself. Saturn was not there. It was over on the other side of the chart. And during this spread, Saturn was over on the other side. So it opposed Pluto in its home sign, but it wasn't sitting there with it. But just to show you, if Pluto were only there by itself, the last dates that happened were 1764 to 1771. Anybody remember when we became a nation here on this side of the pond? It was 1776. And just checking the almanac on that year, in May was the Battle of Almanance, which was a pre-American Revolutionary War battle between local militia and a group of rebels called the Regulators. So the winds of revolution were certainly blowing, and the winds of war were blowing in 1771. And the Revolutionary War itself didn't take place until April of 1775, and it lasted all the way until September of 1783. And, of course, right at the beginning of that date spread, in 1776, just a little over a year after this battle for freedom began, a group of patriots signed a document that said, we are declaring ourselves free. And then they went out and fought for it. And that was with Saturn on the other side of the chart. So you have massive transformation, these massive shifts in society, from the Dark Ages to the Protestant Reformation, to the separation of the colonists from England, and the birth of a new country. Now, this is where I jump off, because a lot of people will take astrology and then say, well, because this and this and this is going on, then we should have a collapse in the financial system and, the president and the hurricane and everything that's going on right now. Look, I've been saying in my consultations that I think the closer in we go, the blurrier it gets. Astrology is really good at about 4,000 or 5,000 feet. 10,000, that's pretty far up. You can come down, but when you get down to 1,000 feet, 500 feet, and now you're hovering over the surface, it's just blurry. I mean, there are a lot of places to crash. And how many people have predicted things over the years that are just simply not coming true? And at the end of the day, we have free choice. So I think the energy that a collective society creates certainly can influence the cosmic energy of the planets. Here's where I will bring it home, that in your life and in my life, there are winds of massive transformation that we have not seen in 250, 500 years, that happens only once in many incarnations, that is right there upon us right now. Are you awake to it, is the question. Or is it going to pass you by? I've been too busy lately. I have to get quieter. I have to peel a few things off my plate because I've been missing some things. And fortunately, when I do sit down, it's right there. And part of what it's saying is that there's stuff that you have not resolved that you are now in a perfect position. The universe is saying thank you very much to do again and try to get it right, or we can just defer it to another go-around, and you'll come back with it and deal with it again. And I'm having to face it, and it's not easy. This is tough stuff, and that's the theme of this whole thing. This is tough stuff. This is for A-team players only. This is for the front line of the bench. So are you in the game? That's the question. Are you conscious of it? Are you alert to your own stuff? What are you working on? Have you made your journal lists? This new moon today gives us so much support for creating things that we would like to be in the oven during this period of time, during this transformative period of time. I have had kind of a running list of things that I've added and taken away and put on, and some have fulfilled, and then some I roll over, and some I modify and change. But I've had this kind of rolling list really since the middle of the Aspen days. A lot of that fulfilled with my transition back to Dallas. But I've just kept some of those same themes going, like getting seminars up and off the ground, That's something that Majana and I would very much like to do on a regular full-time basis. And some of those things are still in the oven. But this morning I was awake at 5:38 our time here in Dallas when this new moon was at its premium, at its peak. And as it started to then move into the waxing phase, I just folded my journal on my chest, leaned back in the chair, and absorbed the moment of this very powerful and benevolent energy that amidst these winds of revolution are saying, here, it's almost like a free ticket, like a lottery ticket. Here's a free ticket of manifestation and creation. What do you want? Like a blank check. Fill it in. And I just absorbed that moment. I'm going to get choked up. Ugh. I just absorbed that moment of that beautiful support. I closed my eyes, and then I got back to writing for a few minutes because I was like, I'm getting on this train. And came up with a completely different list. It was a much bigger, deeper, soul-based list. And put that out there for the universe to work with me on. And I had to square up. Am I just writing stuff down, or am I being honest? This is what I really want. One of the things that I've really learned here most recently in doing these astrological reads is the stuff that we bring in with us. I've talked about the North Node and the South Node, and I have this September special. You guys should jump on it. It's on the FUNastrology.com podcast homepage where you go down for the consults, and it's the special of the North and South Node reading. It will be about 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even toward an hour, of me doing a podcast basically on your north and south nodes. Sole purpose, because the south node is what we brought in here. And it's not like, oh, I was a fisherman in the Pacific Northwest in a past life and I drowned. No, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is accumulated energies that are brought forward into this incarnation that show up in the chart. And that's the south node. And there's a lot more picture that I've been researching and studying and crafting and putting together that we look at not only where the south node shows up, what sign it's in, but we also look at where the ruler of that sign is. We look at the north node and where the ruler of it is, and where Pluto is, which is very significant, and Mars. So we weave a whole story together. We look at the aspects. Maybe Saturn is in the mix. Maybe Uranus is in the mix. So we paint this picture that the chart is speaking of what we clearly brought in. And then I love how it is said that the north node is not a guaranteed fulfillment. It's a suggestion. It's like if you point your compass here, the universe will be there to support you. If you don't, that's fine. You'll get to wherever you get. But here is where the support is. And it's always where there's a struggle, a challenge. It's tough in the north node's backyard. But that's where our soul growth takes place. And what has become really super clear to me is if we don't deal with it now, we'll put a bow on it, we'll say our goodbyes to this physical plane, and we'll bring it back again with the bow unwrapped when we're born. Think of those things that you know you brought with you. I know I brought fear. That's why I wrote a book called Fear Busters. It was therapeutic for myself. I know I brought fear in a big way. And now I'm understanding more of the picture of why. This is very powerful stuff and very powerful energy surrounding it to support you in your change. So, if I can help you in any way with this, let me know at thomas@subconsciousmindmastery.com. If you'd like to grab one of those September specials, I'm going to pull it down. It goes back to $149, I think, in October for this same reading. $79 now at FUNastrology.com. Would love to do that with you. And if you're interested in the whole blueprint, if this conversation catches your attention, best thing to do right now is just email me and let me know, or email Majana. You can do Majana at lifeafterliferadio.com, Thomas at subconsciousmindmastery.com, or the Facebook group Subconscious Mind Mastery Listeners. We are all over the place. You can find us. All right? Hope that helps. This is really powerful. So those of you catching this right now, this Labor Day weekend 2019, go for it. Get the journal out and boogie. Those of you who are not catching this, between now and January, this is full on, game on. And those of you catching this after the conjunction, I'll have a lot of podcasts talking about that on both here and funastrology.com, okay, or Fun Astrology Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. I love you guys and appreciate every one of you. For those of you in Florida with this hurricane oppressing over you, I just am sending you all kinds of protection and love and support energy right now. Been in touch with several of you and just thinking about you and wishing you the very best. And meanwhile, we are staying on top of this astrological weather like Jim Cantori, right here on Subconscious Mind Mastery and Fun Astrology. And Majana's talking about it on Life After Life, too. So we've got you covered in multiple directions. Until next time, enjoy the journey.